In the news tonight, Barbados returning to the International Monetary Fund. Plans to build a multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art urgent care center. And efforts to provide added protection to the island's most vulnerable children. And in sports, Barbados Royals take a 4-point lead at the top of the 2022 CPL.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
A very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we do apologize for tonight's late start. In our top story tonight, Barbados is to enter into another program with the International Monetary Fund. Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley made the announcement during a media conference at Illawarra Court. Wendy Burke was there, and she joins us live now with the details. Good evening, Wendy.
Good evening to you, Lisa, and good evening to our viewers. Well, that announcement about a new arrangement with the IMF is among many topics touched by Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley. She told reporters Cabinet agreed to take the step when it met yesterday, adding she'll be signing a letter asking to resume talks.
I'm referring to the Resilience and Sustainability Trust, which will make available to us another 150 million, 150% of quota, and probably in the vicinity of 200 to 210 million US on top of the 150 million US that we hope to be able to negotiate, 130 million US we hope to be able to negotiate for. So 150% of quota, 210 million US is the target that we are looking for with respect to the Resilience and Sustainability Trust. And for the extended funded facility, we're looking for a 3-year program instead of a 4-year program, but that will be 90% of quota, and that will allow 130 million US to be unlocked.
Ms. Motley says her team will continue to press ahead to ensure growth is registered.
We recognize that because of COVID, there's still work that remains unfinished. The work with respect to completing the restructuring and repurposing of our state-owned enterprises is a work in progress that we had put a pause on largely because of COVID. We also believe that there's tremendous opportunity for growth. I hear a lot of people speaking, but we forget that the World Economic Outlook, issued in April of this year, has Barbados projected to grow at about 11.2%, and with respect to the other countries of the world, go and check for yourself. I believe that the only country that is expected to have greater growth than us is Guyana at 47%.
Now, today's press conference wasn't all about financial matters. Prime Minister Motley also touched on the issue of crime and violence in the country. Stressing there isn't an overnight fix, she's called on everyone to play their part. Ms. Motley says as far as government is concerned, legislative changes are on the cards.
There is an amendment that will come that will correct the section of the Firearms Act that struck down the mandatory sentencing, and that amendment pretty much we believe can follow that which is being done in the United Kingdom, in Turks and Caicos, and in other countries where the sentence of imprisonment for possession of guns will be mandatory unless there are exceptional circumstances that the judge is satisfied that can be there. That amendment must come to the House now.
We also heard talks on wages with the unions are set to begin sometime this month.
I have given instructions that that should happen before the end of September, and I am hoping, therefore, that we can see that process put properly on the table so that persons on behalf of the labor unions and those on behalf of government can sit down and appropriately assess where we are and what the future is. I'm not going to prejudice those discussions by making any comments on it this afternoon, other than to say that the process must start.
Also speaking of the press conference was Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Investment, Ryan Strawn. He says one area critical to the acceleration of various financial reform efforts by government is exporting more to other regions. According to him, the focus during this period of transition and global uncertainty is to get the private sector on board with new export markets.
We need the private sector to be able to look both inward as well as outward, and that is why Last week, we had that conference with the African Exim Bank to be able to bring additional financing to be able to grow the economy. So exporting now has to become a critical element, not just of physical goods, but exports of services, the cultural products, if you like. You saw the opening of the video game factory, not factory, but for programming specifically, to be able to have young people debug programs for global games. So you've started to see some of the very critical things that we want to be able to expose people to, and that's why the training is so important.
Mr. Strong says traditionally Barbados used the North American and European markets for exports, but it's now time to move beyond that space.
Our strategic push, even in the midst of the pandemic, was to establish those missions in Ghana and in Kenya to recognize that on the African continent, there are global companies that we in Barbados too can give the same level of service as we have given Canadian companies, American companies, and European companies right here. And therefore, our focus, if you like, as a country now, has shifted in a sense in being able to bring new business to Barbados, open up new opportunities. And even before this press conference started, reference was made to the fact that there's actually an African company on the ground with respect to being able to push digital payments, which Barbadians now, once they adopt the technology, will be able to lower the cost of doing business, but also be able to export globally.
Lisa, today's press conference will be rebroadcast immediately after the news.
Thank you very much for that report, Wendy. Well, Barbadians will soon be able to access private emergency medical services on island 24 hours a day. This as the Bayview Hospital proceeds with the construction of a $12 million state-of-the-art urgent care center. Rianne Phillips tells us more.
The move to construct a $12 million urgent care centre has been welcomed by Prime Minister Mia Motley. She's described the investment as a sign of confidence in the economy and the country.
Let me say how pleased I am to be here this morning, and I see this as phase one of two critical investments that this group is making into the healthcare sector of this country. But above all else, it is a statement of confidence. It is a statement of confidence of where this country is in spite of a pandemic, in spite of all else that we are facing. No one takes up $12 million and invests in something unless they expect a level of return commensurate with the investment that they're making.
And Hospital Administrator Julie Reid says the centre will provide a wide range of medical services around the clock.
In creating this vision and plan, we took into consideration market research, which suggested that a 2023 private urgent care facility should seek to cater to as much as 80 patients a day. We embraced this standard and also added to the plan provision of a 24-hour ambulance, laboratory and radiology departments. I must add that the radiology department will be outfitted with a new CT scan ensemble, making it the 5th on island. The facility will also house a new operating theatre, designed and outfitted consistent with modern international techniques and technologies. We seek here to expand the capacity on island for local surgeries that would also put Barbados in good stead to further pursue a niche market in medical tourism.
The project has a 12-month timeline, and officials say it is not expected to disrupt the operations at the private medical institution. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Police have formally charged two 25-year-old St. George men for the murder of 44-year-old Carleen Baird, a Guyanese national, which occurred on July 22nd this year. They are Rico Rajon Eversley of Lower Estate and Renico Leroy Ryan Allen of Salisbury. They have also been jointly charged for a case of robbery and a case of theft on the same date, also occurring at Bush Hill in St. Michael. Eversley has been charged separately for a case of theft of motor car from a residence in Salisbury, which occurred between August 12th and 13th this year. And we'll take a break here, but when we come back, there is much more. Just over $1 million is being spent on the island's Planning and Development Department. The disclosure from Senior Minister in the Ministry, the Prime Minister's Office, with responsibility for coordinating infrastructural projects, Dr. William Dugate. Speaking outside of the offices of the department at the garrison, Mr. Dugate said it is a positive development for all involved.
When we first went to Parliament, when I was the minister, it was in the 15-17 million range to try to get these buildings refurbished. Because at the end of the day, if we can get those away from paying rent somewhere else, and then to be in buildings where we don't have to pay rent, and a building that's brought back into good use, it's a win-win for everybody. Although the landlords that maybe losing out rent may not consider that, but they get an opportunity to get a commercial entity to come into their facility.
In reviewing the work done under the project, Mr. Dugate said repurposing buildings and bringing them back into use is at the core of government's redevelopment program.
We've done welfare. We've done the gatehouse. We're in the process of doing the warehouse, which is next door to the gatehouse at MTW. After that is the 3-story building, what was formerly the Barbados Water Authority building. That one is scheduled to be done. We're also doing the Reef Road building, which is the one behind Pelican Village. We're doing the old registration building. That's almost done. And then phase 2 of that is being done as well. So there are quite a few.
Research has started on traditional medicinal plants, which could be major economic earners, but also assist in the management of chronic non-communicable diseases. The global botanical medicine industry is projected to earn $1.39 trillion by 2025. CBC News spoke with one of the researchers in this market, pharmacologist Dr. Damien Cohall, who is the head of Department of Preclinical and Health Sciences at the UWI Cayfield campus. He said our ancestors have been using plants for over 500 years, so there are many observations to show the benefits of these plants.
We have also been researching plants for foods, but let's speak about the medicines. We know with our scientific explorations that plants and their compounds, which we consider the secondary metabolites, these phytochemicals, have proven to be effective in managing a lot of the symptoms associated with chronic non-communicable diseases. There are plants that have been known to be able to control elevated blood pressure. There have been plants like the Madagascar periwinkle that we know have compounds which are anti-cancer, right? And there are so many other plants in development. And let me not finish my list without mentioning cannabis. Some of the work on cannabis started at the Mona campus in the 80s, where we had Professor Manley West developing Canasol and Canavert for the use in the management of glaucoma and asthma.
Dr. Cohall assured that all research done is carried out within strict guidelines.
One studies involve the use of live subjects, excluding plants, of course, but animals, humans. It is a requirement for us to go through the ethical steps of ensuring that your protocols are safe and will not bring undue harm to any of these subjects involved in the research.
A dozen former primary school students, described as the epitome of resilience, have been rewarded by the Barbados Association of Professional Social Workers. The 12 from a variety of primary schools across the island were among the more than 3,000 who wrote the Barbados Secondary Schools entrance examination this year.
A heart-rending account by parent Siobhan Noel gave a glimpse into several of the challenges some students who wrote this year's Barbados Secondary Schools entrance examination faced when COVID-19 forced them into online learning. Her daughter, Soraya, is one of a dozen former primary school students chosen by the Barbados Association of Professional Social Workers to be recognized for their perseverance and tenacity to overcome the difficulties and successfully write the test. Siobhan said her daughter overcame not having a device, issues of abuse, and the family having to relocate twice during the time she was preparing for the exam.
Well, all of that, she was doing lessons. She, when face-to-face started, she went back to school. She was far behind. She was right behind the class. She was at the end of the class. But after 2 weeks, I started to master her work. Later, she never missed it. She said, "Mommy, I want to go to Queen's College." She didn't make it to Queen's College, but she's attending Dayton today.
Chair of the association's Community Outreach and Advocacy Pillar, Juliet Hines, said based on stories like these, the students deserve the recognition.
I had parents, and I'll share a few with you. We had parents who, with terminal illnesses, financial difficulties, children with no devices or having to share a device with siblings, children in homes with no internet connection and not able to take part in online school. We also had a child with a terminal illness who did the exam in pain because he was determined to do the exam.
And the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, J. Hugh Vulture, shared his life story with the children, telling them he stands proudly as a graduate of the Princess Margaret Secondary School.
When I think of the difficulties and the challenges that you, students, have had to go through, and despite that, to perform so well in the examination, I bow to you. You have not let your difficulties, you have not let your environment, you have not let your conditions define what you wish to achieve.
In addition to the prizes, the Social Work Association has paid the students textbook and petty fees for the first year, and they've promised to mentor them for the first 3 years of their secondary school life.
The Barbados Road Safety Association has given the thumbs up to the erection of new traffic signs at the Mangrove Junction in St. Philip. The area has become known as the place for serious accidents over the years. But President Charmaine Roland Bowen says the effort is commendable. The Road Safety Association head also says education is key to reducing collisions across Barbados.
That stop always means every person must stop at that stop line and wait your turn. So they're not doing it, and education is a good component. Every person needs to be educated, and let it start now from those who are training to drive. Regulations doesn't come up, so at least that new generation would come up knowing how to use it, because it's something unfamiliar to us.
The government of Barbados is seeking to leverage its existing capacity and expanding its footprint in the life sciences industry. Chairman of Export Barbados, Adrian Padmore, says the country will build on the foundation in the sector, which features several entities, including pharmaceutical and intraocular lens manufacturing.
By November of this year, we will have in hand a comprehensive strategic plan for life sciences, which will provide a roadmap for development of the sector and exploitation of Barbados's potential in the industry. Already, we have a number of pharmaceutical and intraocular lens manufacturing companies in Barbados. A number of international medical schools are also housed here. And of course, there's the Bel Air's Research Institute, which has many decades of very successful existence in Barbados.
The Export Barbados chairman says Barbados is ready to take its place in the life sciences sector.
Or International Food Science Center is soon to be launched and will increase the country's capacity to deliver life science products at international standards. So while in its early stages, our strategy is very much outward facing, and we are looking for you to join us in this endeavor. The world-class medical innovations arising from the likes of Cuba and South Africa show the potential our regions hold.
Redeveloping buildings such as those at the Town and Country Planning Department is a saving to government. That's how Senior Minister in the Prime Minister's Office with responsibility for coordinating infrastructural projects, Dr. William Duguid, describes ongoing work in the historic Garrison area.
I am so proud I am so proud at the work that the Planning and Development Department has done over the last 8 months. Could you imagine that in 8 months they were able to produce 1,300 permissions? 1,300 permissions that they were able to do, a record for the department, building on the good work that was done by former Minister Marcia Cattle, the member for St. Michael South Central, and the board of management now for planning and development. And in addition, because many times people get planning permissions but don't start, building starts are at 700.
Well, let's head back over to the sports studio now for the second half in sports. Mark.
Yes, before we get to the volleyball, let's talk some car racing where Sol Rally Barbados 2022 champions Dane Skeet and Tyler Mayhew are the top seeds for tomorrow's bordering club Barbados Incorporated's Rally of the Sun and Stars. They are among 30 crews entered for the 12-stage event, which starts at Bushy Park. Skeet said they are buoyed by the successes in the two recent speed events.
It was nice that the car came out and worked perfectly. We didn't have any troubles at all. So I would say the whole weekend was a high point.
And speaking to CBC's Trevor Thorpe, the Sol Rally Barbados champion driver, said the work crew has done an excellent job preparing the Subaru S12 for the demands of the day and night event.
Carried the car home in good working order last weekend, so we'll just run through, put on some fresh tires and get ready to go.
Are you ready for it?
I am ready, yeah. Looking forward to getting in the car and driving somewhere.
Now the volleyball, where Burger King Clapham Toners are into second spot in the women's division of the Goddard Enterprises Limited Senior League, which with an easy victory over Pan American Insurance Warrens at the Wildy Gym. Toners now have a 3-1 record and 14 points, but they trailed the leaders UE Blackbirds. Also in winners' row on the night were Development Volleyball in Motion, who moved their record to 2-2 with a win over Club United. Toners with the serve against Warrens. The back set by Warrens fooled no one, and Dominique Allen is there for the one-on-one block as Toners took the first set 25-13. On to the second set, Toners again with the serve. The unforced error in an overpass by Stacey Atherley allows for U.S. collegiate player Ashley Jordan to dink the winner into the open court. Toners taking the second set 25-12. Warrens receiving serve, and after 2 attempts, they give up a free ball. Toners now on offense, and former national player Chanel Pooler sets Jordan, who rises and delivers a spike that speeds past the blockers and was also too good to be dug in the backcourt, as Toners take the third set 25-16 and the game 3 sets to love. On now to Development in Motion versus the Club United. The first set was real close after being locked at 24-all and 25-all. But Candy Ashori of DVM with the pass, and then the back set by Amber Allen to Desan Vith, who spikes past 2 blockers and finds the open court, as DVM takes the first set 27-25. Sherry-Ann Norris sets outside now for Lisa Clark, who goes powerfully down the line, and the placement is too good for Shori to dig, as the club takes the second set 25-22. It's 1-all. The club in the ascendancy. Lisa Clark gets the set, but the attack is easily handled. Still though, Clark would earn the point on defense, effecting the block for a 25-16 third set victory and a 2-1 lead. DVM would fight back to force a 5th set when they won the 4th 25-20, and in the 5th they would also be on top. The club directing their defense to look for an attack on the 3rd player, but setter Allen fooled them all with a play on 2. DVM taking the 3rd 15-11 and the game 3 sets to 2.
On behalf of the entire team, thanks for joining us. Good night.
Thanks for visiting us. To get more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.